Hello, everyone. Welcome to round 3 of the Super Formula IndyCar series. Today we're here at Laguna Seca. Following practice, this Busch Brothers fan goes off immediately. We've been talking about how dangerous those curbs are. We've seen a few mistakes there in practice. As I was just trying to get to, Busch Brothers fan and Rampage for the guys to beat there, so I expect them to be up front once again for qualifying. These guys should probably space out a little bit, as it looks like they're more focused on racing than getting a good, clean qualifying lap in. Husky's going to get a good one in, as he's up by himself. Everyone else is going to have dirty air, it looks like. So for those of you who did not see the first 2 weeks of racing, let's go over the point standings really quickly following the Bud Light Grand Prix at Daytona. We've got a tie for first place at the moment between Busch Brothers fan and Husky, both at 80 points apiece. Followed by Pokemon at 67, Isaiah Hines at 67 as well, another tie. Rampage at 66, Medic at 53, Retro Racer at 28, Don Armas at 24, Outlaw at 3, and Genos at 3. Of course, we had some people that were kind of sluggish at the SFIS Daytona 250, the oval version of Daytona. Yep, that's right, 2 weeks straight at Daytona. These guys finally getting a new view for the first time this week. They've been in Florida for quite some time. This looks like Rampage and Busch Brothers fans, 1 and 2. Can't say I'm surprised. Ooh, Busch Brothers friend, another off. Of course, these drivers trying to push and get as much pace and performance out of their car as possible. It's going to be very common to see mistakes around here, as this is quite the tricky course. And the drivers certainly aren't going to help themselves, as Busch Brothers fan is going to have to go for another run at it here. Husky improves his time, still in third. Time to beat is a 106. That's around where it was in practice as well, as it seems Rampage is straight back on the pace. No give for anyone else. Looks like someone's hit a braking marker there, as Busch Brothers fan gets a little loose there on exit. As he's going to improve 7/10 faster, but still not enough to challenge for pole position. It's going to make him have a little bit more of a comfortable time, as Husky's giving him a lot of dirty air at the moment. Might wonder if he might try and back off and go for another lap after that. He might just push through. Of course, already down 3/10. As Rampage proves once again, I think that might be the first lifetime we've seen today in the 105s. Looks like Husky's going to have to fight this. A little bit of a fight in qualifying. Kind of surprising to see. Maybe these guys just thinking, hey, let's get up to snuff now while we can. I really do expect Busch Brothers fan to back off and give himself some clean air and go again. Kind of just kill this lap. He should have time to. Just seems hesitant to do so, however. Ooh, another huge off from Busch Brothers fans as he dips a tire on the curb. Again, he made that mistake, I believe, on his first lap in qualifying as well. So a consistent issue. Trying to push for pace, I wouldn't be surprised if just about every single driver is making the same mistake. Order seems to be pretty cemented at the moment between the top three being Rampage, Busch Brothers fan, and Husky. Of course, Retro Racer might be able to challenge Husky. But just haven't seen that pace extracted yet. Don't think Retro Racer's quite going to have the lap to challenge Husky here. No, not quite. Abi could have a good chance of challenging Retro Racer, however, if he can just find 7/100ths of a second. Not a lot of improvement needed, but one whole extra place is a lot. He's currently 9/100ths up. Just needs to nail these last two corners. Doesn't need to try too hard. Husky improves on his time, farther cementing his position. And Abi is going to take 4th place away from Retro Racer. So now your top 4 changes. Top 3 is holding firm, but Abi only 1/10 off of Husky. Could maybe challenge that position as well. Oh, Husky runs wide. And as he joins back on the track, goes into a full spin. Very dangerous stuff there. That could have collected Busch Brothers fan if he wasn't paying attention. As these two have been giving each other dirty air all qualifying long. You know, if Daytona was a track focused on slipstream and drafting, this track is going to be more focused on dirty air, avoiding the slipstream, if you will, in the corners. You're not going to want to be behind a car going into the last lap, I don't think, here. There's not a lot of space for you to build up a big run, and these drivers are going to need a serious pace advantage or to abuse the push-to-pass feature if they want to overtake. It's going to be a lot more skill reliant than just sitting back in a pack waiting for your run. Ooh, a half-second penalty for Husky. Track limits violation. Don't want to see that. Rampage already in the pits. He's got a second clear of Bush Brothers fan. Fittingly enough, the gap between first and... Oh, another huge mistake there from Bush Brothers fan. As that will be the final laps there. Bush Brothers fan making that big mistake. Not going to be able to improve on his time at all. Husky and Abby hold firm. Retro Racer doesn't seem like he's pushing very hard at all. Thundermouse going on his final lap. Can he improve on his position even just a little bit? As no, he's going to have a half-second penalty. His lap's done. Waters going slow as well. So that's going to be the end of qualifying. Rampage is your pole sitter, followed by Bush Brothers fan, Husky, Abby, Retro Racer, Thundermouse, and Waters, also known as Ambrose. 1:05.1 is the time officially. Seems like Rampage is pushing through, though this is an outlap, so it won't count. He seems to be going much faster than everyone else. Rampage, in his victory lap, sends it into the wall. That should be qualifying done. I believe we're just waiting for Rampage to finish his lap. It's not technically officially over. And there you have it. So qualifying is officially done, and we will now migrate towards the race. Restart zone should be very interesting this week, as it's not what we usually see. It's going to be a little bit before the front straightaway, as the restart zone will be the very beginning of the curbing. Of course, it'll be a rolling start. For all of the restarts, cautions will require 2 or more cars to be in an incident anywhere on the track at any given time. It does not have to be related at all. Pace laps will be done at 80 miles per hour. And restarts will be single file. .46 lap event today. Winds of 10 feet per second. Kind of a crosswind if we are looking at the track. Doesn't seem like there's any straightaway where it will be a particular advantage. Will be a headwind heading down into turn 1. That should be noted. Means you could brake just that little bit later than you usually do. And once again, a headwind going into the very fast left-hander, also known as turn 6, I believe. All right. 5 seconds till the official start. Hope everyone's got their popcorn ready, as it should be a very entertaining race today. A lot different than what we had last week at Daytona. Of course, the road course version that time around. We'll see if Rampage can solidify his lead going down into turn 1 and pull away. As we are a go here from Laguna Seca. Rampage seems to be uncontested going down into turn 1, as yes he will be. Followed by Bush Brother Husky. Retro Racer down the inside. Continues to be in 4th. Avi in 5th. Followed by Thunder Mouse in 6th. And Waters brings up the rear of the field in 7th. Husky dipped a tire on the dirt there. Not what track as well. Trying to abuse track limits as much as possible without getting that penalty. Ooh, half-second penalty for Abi. Not what you want to see, as Water seems to be lagging behind a little bit. Bush Brothers fan has closed the gap from a second down to almost half a second. He's on pace for a new fastest lap, of course, but I believe everyone will be, considering the start will slow you down a little bit. Can't get too greedy trying to get the lead, of course. Very important that you stay clear and consistent through these first few laps, as it's more important to keep your track position than have to spend the rest of the day fighting through the pack. Looks like Bush Brothers fan won't get a time penalty for kind of cutting the course slightly. Laxed corner cutting rules, of course. So the front two have already pulled a 7-second gap between them and third place, as they are clearly in a field of their own. Abi tailing very heavily on Husky, trying to force the issue. Of course, everyone trying to prioritize not making mistakes. Oh, as speaking of mistakes, Bush Brothers fan goes for a spin. I don't think he's going to lose any track position here, but that's going to be a lot of time he's going to have to make up. Of course, sitting in that hot air is going to get the tires all messed up. And that cannot be good for tire life as well. Tires probably overheating, overworked after the spin, as Rampage can kind of just focus on being consistent now with no pressure from behind. Husky, however, on the other hand, it has a lot of pressure. Two cars that really want that third place position, that podium position. Do they need it right now? Not exactly. It's only lap 3. However, it sure would be nice to have. Oh, as Abi goes for a spin. Opens the door for maybe Retro Racer to get through. If he can gain enough time on him. I don't think he will. Back to Thunder Mouse and Husky. Looks like we have an issue up front here. Maybe a caution. Did we have 2 cars go off? I'm not quite sure. So it looks like first caution of the day. I don't really anticipate anyone to go into the pits here for tires or fuel. But it could open up a different strategy later on in the race. Maybe someone wants to get on the mediums. Maybe someone's learned that mediums just aren't for them. Who knows? Maybe someone from down farther in the pack is willing to put on a new set of tires and see if that helps them at all. Of course, with only 4 laps on them, it's going to be hard to really make all too much of a difference as Abi opts to go into the pits. Waters does not. So just Abi in this time. He's going to lose 1 position here. Was on the softs. Maybe just changing to a new set of softs. Yes, it is. And just a new set of softs. And topping off on fuel. So I guess that does open up the question of what do you reckon fuel strategy will be like today? So I'm not quite sure as Waters goes wide, forfeiting his position in the process as he's not maintaining minimum speed. Anyway, where were we? Tire strategy. Is it going to be important to save your tires? Maybe save it for later in the run if there aren't as many cautions? Or will it be a caution-filled race today with, well, pretty much everyone kind of getting jumbled up onto the same strategy at some point by the end? And then the other question is, if you're Rampage and you have plenty of space between you and Bush Brothers fan, or you and Husky, are you going to try and save as much fuel as possible just so that if there is a caution, you can take full fuel and be fully comfortable? Guess we'll find out as we come to the restart zone. Husky, of course, Rampage, of course, free to take off whenever he'd like. As he runs a little wide there, opens the door for Bush Brothers fan to maybe make a move down into turn 1 with enough slipstream here. Expecting him to be pounding the overtake button. As he just doesn't quite have it. As, goes into the rear end of Rampage. Sends him well wide as Bush Brothers fan's not going to take the lead. Of course, I believe Rampage isn't going to be very happy about that. And we'll see if they can make a move. Maybe Husky has something to say to Rampage. Water's going off in the background there. And Abi goes off. Probably dipped a tire on the curb like we've seen a lot of other people do. Unsure though. So let's see how Rampage fares in the dirty air of a Bush Brothers fan. We obviously saw Bush Brothers fan was able to gain a lot on Rampage when in that dirty air, was able to hold quite firm. Rampage appears to be doing the same, of course. But does he have the overwhelming pace to pass is the question, or will he have to wait for a Bush Brothers fan mistake? Ooh, little wide there from Rampage. Maybe trying to force the issue a little too much. Because it's very, very early on in the race. You don't need to be pushing the issue so much now. Might be more important to save fuel and tires. Really opens up the strategy option for later. You don't have to beat them on pace. towards the end of the race, potentially. Maybe they'll have to pit as they're short on fuel. Rampage still kicking up dirt. Really seems like he's trying to abuse the track limits as much as possible here. Just a tiny bit wide there. Doesn't quite hit the apex, but nonetheless, probably one of the better corners we'll see all day. Of course, you can brake so late into the corkscrew. The issue is you just can't see when you're supposed to take that right-hander. It's a very blind braking zone and an even blinder turn-in point as Rampage runs wide once again. So real fighting seems to be going on between the 3rd, 4th, and 5th place cars of Husky, Retro Racer, and Obby. So you got a little bit of a wiggle there from Bush Brothers fan as it looks like Rampage is now looking down the inside. It's probably going to force him off a little bit. They bang tires side by side. Rampage to the lead. Bush Brothers fan looks to respond. He might have a chance down at the turn 1. Maybe looking to set up a switchback or just plain old send it down the inside. Nothing doing as Rampage is able to successfully hold his position after stealing it away after the Bush Brothers fan mistake. He's got to clear those up if he wants to win this race. Might not mean much on lap 10, but if we're on lap 45 of 46 and the pressure's mounting from Rampage, we've got to trust Bush Brothers fan to be able to hold that lead without making the mistake. Speaking of mistakes, it looks like while we were focusing on the leaders, Husky's made a mistake and gone down to 5th place. So he's lost 2 positions. That's going to be difficult to get back with all of the dirty air. But before that, he's got to catch back up. Rampage and Bush Brothers fan right next to each other. Just need to make the move. Who will brake later? Looks like Bush Brothers fan wants to brake later, just doesn't have the room. Wasn't anticipating Rampage braking a little bit earlier than him as Bush Brothers fan gets a little loose there on corner exit. Really optimizing the track to the fullest, sticking the tires in the dirt every which way from Sunday. It's impressive to see how consistent these guys are. We just need a little bit of the cleanup, the small cleanup of the mistakes they make. But over the course of a lap, I mean, it just looks so nice to watch them drive. Truly the class of the field here. Another thing that we didn't quite have to worry about with Daytona with the pack being so close because of the drafting, lap traffic could be an issue for the leaders here. I'm not saying a massive issue. However, can they work through the traffic efficiently if there are no cautions? That is the question on my mind, at least. Very consistently seeing Rampage dip his tires into the dirt at Oh! Bush Brothers fan spins, dips a tire on the curb. We've been seeing that mistake all day through practice, qualifying, and now the race. So much time he's going to have to gain back. They were so close to each other. gonna open the door up for Rampage to maybe save some fuel and tires. It's now he's got an 11-second lead. Bush Brothers fans gonna have to clean the dirt off of those tires. It's gonna cost them a few tenths on top of that for this next lap at least. Abi's starting to reel him in a little bit. I don't know if he can cause any issues to Bush Brothers fan, but losing a position would certainly be salt on the wound. I'd imagine Husky probably wants his third place back here quite badly. Hasn't been able to really seek out the move just quite yet. But he has slowly built the gap back up. Just so many quick corners here that really make it very difficult to gain a lot of time, as Abi seems to be very defensive. I don't think Husky's going to be able to mount an attack here. Just a little bit of weaving there from Abi trying to break the toe. Nothing could hurt. That extra tenth could pay dividends later on. Abi has set the fastest lap with a 1:03. I'm assuming a lot of overtake being used there. Of course, that was on lap 8. Ooh, Husky wide. Not very good there. Retro Racer might be able to capitalize, as Husky's tires are going to be dirty. I wouldn't be surprised. You know, mistakes lead to other mistakes is something that's important, as Retro Racer seems keen on taking advantage of it. Will he make the move stick? Clean, fair racing. Retro Racer gets the move done. Husky back down to 5th. Of course, we have the leader, Rampage, closing in on the back marker of Waters. Ooh! Gets a little taste of the dirty air maybe. Runs wide there. Can't quite go flat out. Still having to work on that back marker. Hasn't quite overtaken him just yet. Of course, he's got plenty of a gap to take his time and not force the issue. He doesn't have to make the move right away, as it seems Waters has just opened the door up for him anyway with the half spin there. Sorry, full spin. Now the next man behind him is Bush Brothers fan, who seems to be losing time in the process. Has brought it down 7/10 since we previously mentioned him, but other than that, it's been mostly negative. He was initially at an 11-second gap at one point in time after the spin. Hasn't been able to close that gap just quite yet, as there's a huge gaggle of cars fighting. We've got 3rd, 4th, 5th, and I believe 6th, yes, all fighting each other right now, as it seems to be where all of the chaos is happening. So if we're going to see a caution, it's going to be this group of cars for sure, as we'll see how fair they want to play it today. We've got a spin. Who is that? Not Waters. Oh, we've got 2 spun. Are we going to see a caution here? It's like we've got Waters maybe beached in the gravel, and Thundermouse, who was spun, seems to have gotten everything back together quite quickly. Getting past Waters. Waters getting rolling now. Seems a bit frustrated with himself. I'm sure he's not exactly happy with the way this race has gone so far. As yes, the caution is out. So the field will bunch back up. Bush Brothers fan will have his chance at redemption. As we've got Waters a lap down now. Will he get his lap back? Is another question we have. That, of course, would probably add a whole lap on to the caution laps. So instead of 2, it would be 3. Or I guess it'd be 3 anyway, because we've got to go around to pit anyway. Or not 3, but 2 full laps instead of 1.5. We'll see what the stewards decide here. Other than that, I believe Husky's got a 1-second penalty for a track limit violation, I'm assuming. Maybe it was contact. Unsure. No announcement as of what that was. Retro Racer running a little lot wide there under caution. A bit odd. See if we can get Rampage on the phone. Rampage, how you doing?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good myself. How have you taken the first 17 laps? What's your thought process so far?
Well, I'm just trying to save tires so far. I mean, we're already good on fuel, so we're just trying to save tires here. I'm pretty sure everyone is.
Alrighty. What are your thoughts on Bush Brothers fan? He's been quite aggressive with you, making a lot of mistakes, however. Are you worried about him, or are you confident you can hold this lead?
Well, depends. Depends if there's gonna be a late safety car restart. If that does happen, then the tables can turn. Yeah.
Fair enough. Bush Brothers fan, of course, just pitted. He's going to come out in, I believe, 4th, barring any hijinks.
Yeah.
So he's going to have to work his way through Retro Racer and Husky, it looks like. What are your plans? You don't have to go into full detail, but vaguely, what are your plans for the restart here?
Just trying to not get wrecked into turn 1, like some people do sometimes. Not mentioning anyone, but yeah, just happens sometimes.
Fair enough. Well, best of luck to you. You've been dominating so far. Good.
Alright, thank you.
Yep, no problem. Good luck. Alright, you heard it there first from Rampage himself. Has he been spun under caution? Yes, he has. Are they going to award him the positions back? It looks like it. Retro Racer goes wide once again. Is he going to get his positions back, or is Bush Brothers fan going to capitalize once again by not having to overtake one of those cars? A little bit of caution hijinks. You know, you hate to see drivers go off and collide under caution. Drivers kind of have to get it together a little bit. Coming to the restart zone, I believe we will be going green this time by. Of course, the restart zone is the curbing. We'll go on board with Rampage for this lap. The curbing right in front of you, you'll see here. Of course, it's the leader's discretion to take off or not. On board with Husky now. Let's see how he takes these first few corners. No contest from no contest from Husky. Rampage gets a clean start, and Bush Brothers fans already up a position as I believe Retro Racers lost a few. Switching over to Bush Brothers fan on the tail of Husky. Seems like he's using a lot of overtake to get this move done. Husky backs out. Bush Brothers fan up to second, and now we're back to status quo unless Husky has something to say about it. And he does not. Now, it takes some stones to go around this track with pace. A lot of fast corners, a lot of trust you've got to have in this car. And it's not always the most predictable. As Busch Brothers fan proves it right there by going wide. A 107.3 for Busch Brothers fan. A 106.9 for Rampage. 1.6 second gap between the two. Thunder Mouse looking up the inside of Retro Racer might send a huge dive bomb going to the final corner of the lap. Thinks twice about it, however, prefers to get a run down the straightaway, and he might just make the move clean, clear, and cut. Yes, he will. Goes defensive into turn one. Seems to be working out just fine. Retro Racer, however, sticks his nose up the inside. Doesn't quite work as he spins, losing control of the car. That's going to cost him another position. Retro Racer now down 2 positions. Rampage once again extending the gap to 2.8 seconds. Almost 3 seconds now. Busch Brothers fans got to be wondering where this pace is coming from, where he's getting this time. Gained 3/10 back in the final sector. Maybe that's Busch Brothers fans' strong suit. Of course, right now, Rampage may be dominating, as he said before. Anything can happen towards the end of the race, and desperation tends to get the best of even the most clean drivers. Of course, if they were to finish like this, I believe Busch Brothers fan would still have the lead. Of course, he would be off by himself as Husky is tied with him on points. Rampage would move up a position or two, I believe, but just would not be able to take the lead of the championship outright. But if he keeps up performances like we're seeing here today, it's going to be hard to stop him from taking the title off for himself. Of course, only 2 weeks in, about to be 3 after this race is done. Too early to tell, but Rampage, with a lot of road courses on the schedule, looking like the favorite. Needs to clean up maybe his oval finishes, as the championship finale is on a oval-like track. And then, of course, we do have the Blue Moon Bay Speedway, which is not exactly an oval per se, but it's a very fast triangle. As, oh, Rampage getting in the dirt. That's going to open up some time to be exploited by Busch Brothers fan. Of course, Rampage has plenty of time, does not need to rush these things. Scary mistake nonetheless. You see, Rampage is kicking up just a tiniest bit of dirt going through that kink, just expanding the track to the absolute limit. And that's what's so impressive, and that's why it's so fun to watch him drive. He's kicking up just the tiniest bit of dirt on so many of these corners, really fully extending the track, and that's why he's gaining these small little increments in every single corner. He's starting out wider, he's finishing wider, and he's hitting the apexes just smack dead on. It's really impressive to watch. Really not leaving any room for you to wonder if he could eke out any more performance out of the car. as he seems to be kind of letting up here as Bush Brothers fan, maybe trying out a new line through some corners. You see, even right there, Bush Brothers fan had more room to the left to extend the track and chose not to do it, chose not to risk getting on the curb. And Rampage, once again, kicking up the dirt. Bush Brothers fan follows suit, trying to expand the track just a little bit more as well. Maybe copying his line just that little bit more. I believe Rampage getting on the gas just a little bit sooner in the corkscrew as well. Of course, there's a lot of grip in there to be exploited. You just got to find it, as we've got a back marker ahead that might just wait for the leaders to go around. As yes, he will. I believe that's Waters again. Yes, it is. Maybe beached once again in the gravel. Maybe he'll get going here soon. So we now shift our focus towards Avi, Husky, and Retro Racer, as I believe Yes, that's our first DNF of the day. Waters out of the race, beached in the gravel. That's going to be his day done. I guess he decided too much damage to go on, and it was not worth it. As Bush Brothers fans still within that 1 second gap. He's closed it quite nicely, but just can't get that extra few tenths to get right on his rear and get a good run going out onto turn 1. But might be able to get him here, as Bush Brothers fan did pit, so he's going to have a little bit of extra pace here, as he might be able to get a better run with his fresher tires going down into turn 1, making things interesting for sure. Not quite. Maybe opting for a better run out of turn 2. Looks for it. Had the speed for it, I believe, but just can't make the move happen. Rampage pushing very hard on his tires there. You can hear the tires screeching on exit with a little bit of a slide there. Bush Brothers fan goes a little wide there. Definitely suboptimal. He's going to open that gap back up to around 8/10 of a second. As I believe the tire wear might be starting to get to Rampage here, and the tires might have officially fallen off a little bit, as Bush Brothers fans got a good few more laps before that becomes an issue. As, oh no, we've had another DNF. So already down 2 cars, just like we were last week. I'm curious, however, who are we missing? Bush Brothers fan now able to take the lead away from Rampage, as his fresher tires might be coming into effect. He might be able to pull away. Of course, when the next pit stops come through, will Bush Brothers fan pit with Rampage? Assuming Rampage desperately in need of tires, probably going to wait it out to see if he can get a caution. And it looks like pitting under caution has worked out quite nicely for Bush Brothers fan, because he didn't really lose all too much time, got up to second quite quickly, has the fresher tires now, and it might just, it's starting to look like Rampage is going to have to pit under green. So really going long on those tires, it looks like, as Abi is setting the track alight with a new fastest lap, I believe. Yes, and he's purple going out of the first sector, as we have an off. Bush Brothers fan is off. Big mistake there, as that's going to open the gap way up as Abi's now into second place. So Rampage able to take his time and save tires even more as he really desperately needs a caution in order to get a less taxing one. Looks like Retro Racer gone a little wide himself. And we've got a caution, it looks like. Yes, we do. With the lack of drivers, maybe only going down to single car incidents. I didn't see a second car off track there. Maybe I missed it. Okay, so a single car incident brought out the caution. Anyway, Rampage definitely has an interesting livery. Got the caution he probably needed. I expect him to pit here as well as with everyone else probably. We saw how well Busch Brothers fans' tires came to life, or rather how bad the fall off was for Rampage, getting overtaken when the run became a little longer there. As everyone comes down to the pit road. So everyone will be on the same sequence now. Rampage officially in for his stop. 4 tires off, 4 tires back on. No fuel, and he's right on out, back in the lead. So I believe the order did say that stay the same that time. Busch Brothers fans going to have to get through Abi if he wants a chance at the lead again. Once again, another mistake from Busch Brothers fan. There's been a lot of them today. He's got the pace. He just needs the consistency. And right now, Rampage is the one with the consistency. So everyone on a level playing field now with super grippy tires and no fuel needed for the rest of the race. Not too many laps left. We've only got, I believe, 16. Yes. Or it'll be 16. As once again, I'm going board with Busch Brothers fan for the restart. See what he can get done. Expect him to at least make one move. But can he make 2? Or will he be put on the defensive by Husky? Who knows? So we are a go once again. Who will get the best run out of turn 1? Looks like they all come out kind of equal. Busch Brothers fan might try and just send it around the outside. Gap does not open. Husky looks up the inside just a little bit. Nothing doing, though. Abi still holding on to second. Probably pretty keen on keeping it that way. As, ooh, another Busch Brothers fan mistake as he runs wide. Lets up even more positions. That's going to be huge for Rampage, as his only real challenger all day has made another huge mistake and now has to get through 3 drivers as well as make up the time as he gets on the sausage curb and runs wide. Throwing the race away just a little bit. Husky makes a mistake. That's going to be 1 free position back. Retro Racer is now next on his charge to the field. Not going to be able to make any move through the corkscrew. Maybe on exit as, oh yes, Retro Racer gets loose. And, ooh, has to go narrow. Hits the sausage curb. Runs into Husky, runs him wide. And Retro Racer runs wide himself. Now Husky up to fourth. Bush Brothers fan up to third where he started this current restart. Working on Abby. Good track optimization there from Bush. Husky on his tail, though, has got to be a little worried. Of course, another factor that we don't much talk about is who's using the most overtake. Ooh, Abby runs wide. That's going to be another free position. So, Bush Brothers fan doesn't really have to actually pass anyone as they all kind of clear the way for him. But now he's got a 5-second gap to clean up between him and Rampage. Husky and Abby seem to be holding pretty firm with Bush Brothers fan. Of course, Bush Brothers fan still pulling a little bit more of a gap than he's losing, but not as much as I was expecting him to, and certainly not as much as he was at the beginning of the race. But Rampage is kind of letting that gap close as well to Bush Brothers fans. So I'm wondering if everyone's kind of just reserved the quiet before the storm potentially, as we're almost down to 10 to go. Not quite there yet. Almost a full second gap between Bush Brothers fan and Husky. However, there's a 3.8 second gap to Rampage that needs to be closed. Those mistakes at the restart are the difference right now between a fight for the lead and a gap that needs to be closed. Another track limits violation for Abby. Don't anticipate that costing him all too much. Of course, the 5/10 penalty, but should be able to work that back to Husky eventually. Gaps staying at around 3.8 seconds. Maybe a little bit of race management here coming out from Rampage. Here's the question. With 5 laps to go, running on these tires, if you're in a really bad spot, let's say Bush Brothers fan, not too confident about his current position at the moment in time, do you opt to potentially go into pit road, lose 3 spots, but see if you can work your way up the field with slightly fresher tires? It's an option. It would be a bold strategy, but it could pay off. Could see that strategy made by Husky to get ahead of Bush Brothers. Oh, Bush Brothers fan goes wide. Should open the door for Husky to make a move. Remember, these are 2 championship leaders at the moment. If Husky could get ahead, he'd be leading the championship. So if you're a Husky or if you're a Retro Racer, do you pit with a few laps to go if there's a caution. And of course, if Husky pits, I would assume he brings everyone behind him as well. Because Husky seems to be holding quite firm with Busch Brothers fan in terms of pace. So, barring a mistake, of course. Rampage opening the gap up to 4.3 seconds. Of course, that's compared to the 3.8 seconds it was at previously. It might not always be about the race win, especially for Husky here, as the championship standings are what's most important. Him walking out of here with a championship lead would be huge as, oh no, a mistake by Husky! Speaking of championship implications, that's not a good one for Husky. Pushing just a little too hard. 10 laps to go as caution flies. Now, is 10 laps to go, would you want fresher tires for the last 10 laps of the race? Is it worth it? If you're a Busch Brothers fan, right? Or we don't have to ask the question. Let's just go ask them ourselves. Hey, Busch Brothers fan, how you doing? Hey, Busch, this is 10 pin up in the booth. You got me? Seems to be unresponsive. Very unfortunate. Guess the radio's not quite working for him right now. Maybe rather just focused on the race. However, if you're a Busch Brothers fan, do you pit? If we were talking about the difference between him and Rampage just being a few tenths, the option should be weighed. We'll see what he decides to do. No dice from any of them. It doesn't look like. None of them are going to pit. Odd choice. Husky could have used the fresher tires. Seems we're going straight back to green flag racing here. Odd choice. Maybe some bargaining there with the officiating body to get the race back underway as quick as possible, as to not lose too many laps. Busch Brothers fans going to have to be on full focus, as I just don't know if it's going to be enough. Of course, for anyone wondering, there is no point for the fastest lap. However, Abby done a very nice job to get that fastest lap. Worked very hard for it. One second gap to Rampage already. We're not even done with the first lap. Rough stuff here. Looks like Abby might be out of boost already. Yes, he is. Or at least low. Rampage appears to be sitting pretty easy. Dominated pretty much this entire race with very little challenge from anyone else. It's been pretty much a masterclass from him today. I mean, just putting on an absolute clinic, similar to what you'd see from a Max Verstappen, from a Kyle Larson if you're a NASCAR fan. And we're talking fastest in practice, pole position, and potentially the race win. Did he lead every lap? I do not know. I don't believe he has. However, fastest in practice, fastest in race, and a potential race win in the books is quite the stat line to put up. And the answer he needed after last week, coming just short after dominating the whole nighttime section and not having the best of finishes at Daytona. Focusing farther down in the pack, we've got Busch Brothers fan, Abby, and Husky. Busch Brothers fan, now the gap almost 2 seconds now. Not ideal at all. Of course, Busch still would have the championship lead, I believe. Husky, however, I believe would like to change that fact. Now, if he can get past Abby here, which would be quite crucial, the door is open. Busch Brothers fan has made a few mistakes today, and he could make another, and that could be the difference between Husky being in second, maybe even in third or first in the standings. Okay, now that we're in the closing few laps of the race, let's go over the point standings, or not the point standings, the point system. So first place would be 50 points, followed by second place 40, as Husky makes a move around the outside. Abby making some small mistakes there. Husky's got to close the gap, though, almost a full second between the two. A 5-point difference, a 5-point swing. Sorry, a 10-point swing, a 5-point difference between Husky and Busch Brothers fan at the current moment in time. Ooh, oh no, Busch Brothers fan goes off, and so did Abby there, I believe, and that's going to give the championship lead to Husky with only what might be 2 laps to go, 3 laps to go at the end of the race. So now we're going to have to see a hard charging Busch Brothers fan take his championship lead back. Green flag racing to shortly resume here. Ooh, 2 people pitting. That's going to be huge here. Busch Brothers fan opting to get the pace advantage. With only Potentially 2 laps to go here at the end of the race. I believe cautions will be disallowed from this point on. Interesting choices here. Husky stays out, however. I can't blame either of these two phenomenal drivers for not taking the bait, as Husky has track position and so does Rampage. Obviously never expected Rampage to pit, but Husky could have considered it. Maybe in a defensive move. However, if Husky pit, I bet Bush Brothers fan stays out. So now let's see if these two can make their way through the field. It's going to be a very difficult trek for them, but should be able to make things happen. As Bush Brothers fan taking an interesting approach to warming up his tires there. Don't know if I've seen that one before, not in the dry at least. So as the point standings, with the point, okay, the points, if everyone finishes where they are today, their current positions, we're looking at a second place in the championship standings for Rampage, our current race leader, a first place championship lead for Husky, and Bush Brothers fan would sit very firmly in third. Not exactly what you'd want first to third in one championship weekend. However, with the gain of one position, I believe he just moved up into second. Ooh, Husky very wide, giving the championship lead back to Bush Brothers fan. Abby has other plans, though. Could brush him wide. Ooh, they bang tires. Husky's got to hustle here. Rampage all by his lonesome. As, oh no, Bush goes off! Seems like neither of these guys want the championship lead. Husky would like to get around Abby here, really expand his lead. Bush Brothers fan, I believe, currently it would be in third place in the standings. That's not what you want right there. One lap to go. Can Husky make the move? Gets side by side with him. Gonna try and go around the outside. Backs out. Maybe looking for the switchback. Can't quite fit his nose in there. He needs to focus on not making a mistake, however. As he doesn't want to open the door back up for Bush Brothers fan to take the championship lead. Of course, I'm sure he'd be very, very happy with his third place finish and a championship lead. He's running out of corners here. However, who's not running out of corners is Rampage, putting on a masterclass today. Not much anyone else can do. Just putting every ounce of effort, just perfection at its finest. No mistakes needed, as, oh no, looks like Husky and Abby ran wide, and now it's Bush Brothers fan who's going to take the championship lead back. These two back and forth and back and forth. What a nightmare. Rough go of it from those two, as I believe it's going to be Bush Brothers fan in the championship lead now. Let's pull out the calculator really quickly. 80 plus 40 is a nice cool 120. Whereas with, well, we know Husky's not going to have a shot at the championship lead, but is he in third or is he in second is the real question. Rampage had 66 going into the championship weekend, picks up 50 for the race win. That's going to be 116. So the real question is, where does Husky lie, second or third? Husky, of course, had the same points total of 80. Pardon me. Husky had 80, of course. Finished, I believe, in fourth, so that's plus 32. That's only 112. So championship order should look like this. Bush Brothers fan, followed by Rampage, then Husky. Of course, thank you all for watching. Thank, of course, our partners at the GT7 NASCAR League. And thank the drivers for putting on a great show for us all today. Congratulations, Rampage. I will see you guys on the flip side. Goodbye.